This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined again by Peter Sand, Chief Analyst, Xeneta, to talk about the ever-changing and ever-interesting container shipping industry. This market, as I said, it changes so rapidly, and if you look at what it was a year ago to what it is today, it's staggering, actually. So to start us off, why don't you talk about what you see as far as falling demand and the blank sailings of container ships leading up to the Chinese New Year?
Happy New Year to you too, Greg, and all our viewers here on Maritime TV. What I see in the market right now is quite dramatic, and being a shipping fan and working in this industry for a couple of decades now, what is happening right now is almost unprecedented. We saw the global financial crisis deliver some massive headlines back in 2008-9, and the recovery in 2010. I doubt we'll see the same recovery this time around, but what we definitely see is carriers being desperate in their capacity management. They're applying the soft tools up front, blank sailings and idling here and there. But sooner we will also see layups. We will also see demolition picking up later in the year, because what we get in terms of the numbers, and of course the freight rates that we deliver at Xeneta is an early indicator of the numbers on real volumes that we get with some delay. We see on the main trades out of Far East volumes falling by 20 to 30% when you compare like November data to that of the year before. So it's really a catching up game, or don't try to catch a falling knife in that game where shippers, freight forwarders, and carriers find themselves right now. Very dramatic at the moment.
Okay, well, again, Peter, I appreciate that oversight. So, when we look at the market today, it looks like spot rates are almost at that pre-pandemic level. Do you expect contract rates to follow suit?
What we see in Xeneta data right now is literally that some of the sharpest kids on the block in terms of negotiating and being, of course, one of the top dogs in the shipper community, they're actually capable of signing long-term contracts right now at spot rate levels. But on average, we do not see that yet. Of course, the market is also full of, say, smaller shippers, medium-sized shippers, and also pretty hardball players in the freight forwarder and carrier market. Of course, they are trying to stem the hemorrhage of the markets. If they were to drop their pants right now on the long terms, they would, of course, face a barrage of negotiation quests from all their customers that have signed long-term contracts throughout the upturn, as well as the downside, because being a shipper of a certain size, you cannot rely only on the spot market. But what we see definitely is that freight forwarders are shying away from signing long-term contracts right now. So they're really playing an interesting game out there. It's one that we follow quite closely.
Okay. Well, Peter, as we were discussing briefly in the run-up to this conversation, the shift from the West Coast U.S. to the East Coast U.S. in terms of volumes is, simply amazing from my side. So with that as a backdrop, is anything happening on the U.S. West Coast as far as the labor negotiations concerned? And how does this impact shippers that have shifted to the East Coast since last summer?
I think it's fair to say that the negotiations on the U.S. West Coast is going nowhere. To me, what I hear from the red wine or from the grapevine, I guess the saying is, that some of the labor unions are playing a game that the TPA is not really fond of. So negotiations are not moving anywhere. They're not even talking about what we from the outside would expect to be the main obstacles, like salaries and automation. They're talking about politics at a different scale than they used to. So that's keeping the parties in the negotiation room with some sort of distance. And to the shippers, of course, that have reverted some of their volumes that they normally shift in through the main, say, central complex and other West Coast ports. I mean, the longer they divert their cargoes into the US East Coast, of course, the more likely they may also be or the more hesitant they will be to move the cargo back, because often you also invest in these new trade lanes. You may sign up for warehouses. You may set up new arrangements with hinterland connectivity, rail, truck, and stuff like that. And I guess that's also been a part of the story between the U.S. and East Coast and West Coast in the past couple of years, where the East Coast volumes have been growing faster than the West Coast. So if I were a part of the negotiations on the West Coast, I would strike a deal as soon as possible in order to bring back lost volumes ASAP, because otherwise it could be more of a long-term damage done if they fail to do so. And shippers, they just want the best service they can get. And right now, that's definitely not on the US West Coast.
Okay, well, Peter, as always, I appreciate your time. Maybe after we hit our milestone 100th interview, I'll get one of those slick looking Xeneta hoodies that you have on right now. But until then, I look forward to visiting with you the next time.
I look very much forward to that number 100 and handing over you a Xeneta hoodie, which is definitely precious.